Goodbye, imposter. Hello, icon. It's about to be 2025. And 2024 was all about that abundance, infusing fresh life and energy into everything that you were doing. It's now about to be all about leadership. 2025 is all about divine feminine leadership. But you are still asking for permission. And that's what the imposter does. The imposter asks for permission to launch that offer, to create that product. The imposter needs someone else to tell them if they should transition their business from more of a traditional business into spiritual entrepreneurship. I know you've been feeling the call towards spiritual entrepreneurship, but yet you are asking for permission, waiting for permission. And you know that you're doing this because when you get the inspired idea, the download that you're receiving on what you should create, what intuitively, internally, you know you're meant to share with the world, you're sitting there and you're questioning it, and you're doubting it, and you're overthinking it, and you're sitting on the idea for weeks, months, sometimes years. And I'm here to remind you that you are the icon, that it is time to stop sitting on the idea, that it is time to shift into that identity that you really know that you're meant to be shifting into as a divine feminine leader. Because the divine feminine leader focuses in on internally what she knows she's meant to share externally. It's not the other way around. And I know it can feel a little bit inhibiting sometimes because when you are the leader, because if you're listening to this, if you're watching this, you are the leader. You wouldn't have been drawn to this if you weren't. You know that you're meant to go first. And a lot of times your ideas, they're futuristic. They're ahead of their time. You are ahead of your time. And this is why sometimes it feels like this questioning energy. Sometimes it feels like you need to wait before you can create it and put it out there and put it to the world and ask other people what they think about it. But we need to stop asking. You need to stop asking. Because what it is that you're being downloaded with, the idea is needed. It's needed, especially now as we transition from audacious abundance. 2024 was all about breathing fresh life into things, forward movement, taking aligned action. And if you didn't feel that energy in 2024, if you feel burnt out, if you feel heavy, exhausted, weighted down, it's because you were letting the imposter run the show instead of the icon. Because the icon is moving. And so I want to help you really shift into this leadership energy. And you do this by acknowledging the fact that these questions that you're asking about what you should do and if you should do it is really based on feeling this need to ask for permission from childhood. It really, really stems from upbringing. And something that came through today that I felt called to share with you is with my daughter. I have two daughters, a little baby, Lulu Love, and my oldest daughter. And with my oldest daughter, a lot of my parenting style, and this is not to say anything about if you are a parent or how you should parent, I'm just sharing this analogy in a sense to really give you some insight. With my daughter, a lot of things that we work through is about me presenting to her an idea, concept, and then having an open discussion with her to give me feedback. So I'm not one of those parents that says, you have to do this and you have to do it this way. It's, this is what I'm suggesting to you and let me hear back from you. A lot of us didn't grow up in that type of household we grew up in a sense, the word is coming through is more of a dictatorship. It's my way or the highway. This is how it's going to be. And so our whole life, for a lot of us, we relied on authority to tell us what to do, how to make decisions, what to say yes to, what to say no to. But then when you become an adult, society says, now it's up to you. You get to decide. But what happens for a lot of us, especially if you felt called into going more of the traditional route, maybe having a career, and then going into spiritual or into entrepreneurship, and then again now into spiritual entrepreneurship, you're waiting for the approval because that's how it's always been. You've always had someone telling you what to do. And society says, no, now it's up to you. But then you're still holding on to the conditioning of always having someone tell you what to do. And there's no transition. It's just now this is how it is. You're an adult. You need to decide. And that's where it stems from a lot of us. And going back to my daughter in this analogy that I was using with her, for example, there's an after-school program. It's a club for kids that they can go to after school. And a lot of my friends have said, oh, I just send my kid. They didn't even ask their kid if they wanted to go. And again, this is not any kind of judgment style of anyone else's parenting. This is just, I'm just using this as an example to explain that a lot of my friends, they decided that their kid was going to go to this after school club program. They didn't ask their kid if they wanted to go or not. They just decided. And then when they send their kid there, they decide when they pick them up. Versus how I handle with my daughter. And again, I'm not comparing. I'm just saying with my daughter, there was a lot of discussion of, do you want to go to this club? Are you interested in it? Let's talk about this. I gave her the option to decide if she wanted to go or not. And this year was the first year she said, I do want to do this club. I am interested in it. And then it became another discussion of, okay, well, what time do you want to be picked up? And a lot of times we, as children, didn't experience that. We didn't experience having the option to say, oh, well, I want to be picked up at 4 today. And to be transparent, I don't always say, okay, I'm going to pick you up at 4. A lot of times it's like, okay, well, I'll pick you up between 4 and 4:30. I'll pick you up maybe closer to 5. There is nuance. Obviously, I'm the parent. I am discussing with her, but also saying, okay, this is what's going to happen. But a lot of us growing up didn't have that. It was, you're going to go to this club. You don't get to decide if you want to go or not. If you don't like it, doesn't matter. You're going. And I'm going to pick you up at this time. And again, just using this as an example, because this is really where imposter syndrome for a lot of us stems from. Being told what to do, regardless of how we internally felt about it. We didn't get to decide. We're children. So we just have to do what's being told to us, even if we want to do something different. But then when we become an adult, society says, okay, do you want to go to the club or not? And you're like, well, I don't know. I've been told I had to go to this club my whole life. Now I get to decide. Your whole life you maybe had ideas. Maybe you've been entrepreneurial since you were a kid, but your parents never really wanted you to do anything entrepreneurial, so you just tucked it inside, and now you're an adult. You're like, I get to decide now that I want to be an entrepreneur? And then you question it, and you doubt it, and you don't know. Because internally, that part of you has honestly been repressed for a really long time. And it's happened to so many of us. It's happened to so many of us. And so when you look at your life and your work right now and your business, where are you waiting? So many of you are waiting. You're waiting for someone to tell you, yes, launch that product. Launch that idea. So using another example that has to do more with business, I'm just going to have a little water. Over the last couple of years, honestly, since 2020, working with female entrepreneurs, I noticed this pattern. I noticed 2 patterns came through. One is called the soulfulpreneur archetypes. This is more tied into your work, your purpose, what type of work you're supposed to be doing. And then your abundance archetypes, which is more connected to your strengths as a money manifester. What's the best way for you to manifest money? Both of these things came through just by me working with women and just seeing these powerful patterns. And I just launched them. Soulfulpreneur archetype, I created a whole workshop around it. I'll have it linked below if you want to check it out. I put it in my book. I did not ask anyone what they thought about it. It was something that honestly was downloaded to me and that I saw clearly in working with women. Same with the abundance archetypes. It was something that just really started naturally coming through as working with women. And I didn't ask anyone what they thought about it. I just created and I put it out. And honestly, out of the two, the abundance archetypes by far has gotten way more of a response, which I'm not surprised has to do with money, manifesting money. So, a lot of people are really drawn to it. The spiritual entrepreneur archetype or soulfulpreneur archetype, I kind of go back and forth between both terms, didn't take off as much, although a lot of people do resonate with it. There's a lot of aha moments when I share this with people. I've gotten a lot of feedback about people who have read about it in my book. But I would say the response to the abundance archetypes was way more prominent, more messages, more feedback on the wealthy workshop that I created, which again, I will have linked down below so you can check out both of them. But it didn't matter which one was more popular, which one wasn't, because both of them were things that I felt really called to share with you. And they both are really powerful and they both helped a lot of people. And I didn't sit around hemming and hawing about it, asking anyone what they thought. I just shared it. And then I got the response. And I'm sharing this with you because this is what you need to do as well. With that product, that idea, that service. You need to stop sitting on it and share it. And it might get an amazing, incredible response, or it might kind of do okay. Just kind of like the example I just shared. It might do amazing, or people might not really get it right away. It might take time for them to kind of catch on. And that's okay, because if it's internally what you feel really called to share, then you're meant to share it. You're meant to turn it into an offer or a service or a product, if that's where it's stemming from. Especially if you're an entrepreneur, especially if you're a spiritual entrepreneur, it's meant to be vocalized and shared and expressed and created and manifested. And the reason why you're sitting on the idea is because of this imposter identity. But it's time to shift into, like I said, the icon. Because the icon moves. The icon doesn't wait for the market to tell her what she's supposed to be doing. She does what she wants. She puts it out there. And the response, honestly, is going to be what the response is. But again, when we're tapping into that divine feminine leader, she is going first. She's putting things out. And going back to being ahead of your time, it might not catch on right away because you're ahead of your time. It might be an idea, a futuristic idea that maybe is going to take a couple years to take off. And that just happens sometimes. Sometimes we launch something and it just right away, boom, it just takes off. And other things kind of have to ruminate a little bit more because the market is just not there yet. And that's okay. It doesn't mean you're not supposed to create it, because you are an innovator. You're a powerful innovator and you're meant to share whatever this idea, offer, product, service is. And I know it can be easier said than done to sort of uncode or untangle is the word I'm thinking of. A lot of these stories from childhood that are sort of wrapped up in us not taking that action. A lot of it you might not even remember exactly what were the things that were said to you or that were, just around your awareness because they happened such a long time ago that are impacting you now. But it's really about rewiring a lot of these belief systems and shifting that identity. And it does, a lot of it honestly can be really fast and shift easily. And some of it's almost like you have to keep coming back to it to just rewire it and rework it, because it's very ingrained and a lot of it is very subconscious. We don't consciously we're not consciously aware. And this is why we're in this questioning phase of like, I know I want to do this. I feel called. But then you're wondering, am I worthy? Who am I to do this? Is this a good idea? Does anyone care? All of these things are stemming from belief systems that need to be reworked. Because the icon knows that her idea is worthy, it's valuable, it's needed. People want it. People are going to flock to it. It's going to help shape your industry. It's going to help propel your industry, whatever industry you're in. I'm in the coaching space, mentorship space. You might be in the physical product space or a combination of a couple different things. But whatever it is, it came to you for a reason. It's meant to be expressed. And so I would invite you to start really looking at in your work, in your business, where you're hesitating. And really get into why you're hesitating. Why are you holding on to this concept that it's not needed? This idea that no one wants it. Because I'm telling you, people need it. Someone needs it. And what I have often found within my work is that the things that I've offered and shared are for people that are just a couple steps behind me that really need what I'm offering to amplify them, propel them forward. And so that could be for you as well. It's maybe one or two steps behind you, but it's a product, an offer, or service that's really going to help that dreamy, ideal, amazing client, soulmate client as we love to call them, propel them into that next phase. And if you don't create it, they're going to be sort of hemming and hawing and trying to figure this out on their own. It might not resonate with anyone else who can really share it the way that you could share it. So like I said, I would invite you right now to really look at the internal versus the external, because that's what the Divine Feminine is all about. That's what we are really shifting into 2025. I'm going to be talking so much more about leadership moving forward, because we need more Divine Feminine leaders. You're watching this because you're a Divine Feminine leader, and we need you to really amplify your voice, share your voice. I'm feeling really called more so now than ever to help you amplify your voice through podcasting, because it's been a way for me to really get on here and just share. Fun fact, I am doing a video podcast today, so you can listen to it or you can watch it. I'll have it all linked below, no matter what platform you're on. But I feel really called to help you share your voice this way, because it just feels like the most divine feminine way to connect with you, honestly, to hit record and to just share what's coming through, channel it, and have it come out. And the term imposter and imposter syndrome, honestly, before I got into this space, into the mentorship coaching space, I honestly thought it was a buzzword. I thought it was just something that was just being thrown around on Instagram. It wasn't until I started working with you, those of you who have worked with me, and if you haven't worked with me, click down below for some information on how we can connect. You started telling me you felt like an imposter. And you didn't know why. You felt like you were meant to move forward, create this thing, but you had all these doubts and questions around it. I like to say the questioning queen. But you're meant to be the wealthy, empowered empress. You're meant to create your empire, your physical product, your digital product, your podcast, your YouTube channel, all the things that you feel called to create. You're meant to create them. But you're holding on to this imposter identity and you don't know why. And I'm here to tell you it's because of this permission aspect. And again, it wasn't necessarily done in a way to intentionally keep you in this space. Our caregivers, our mothers, our fathers, whoever these people were, our teachers, they weren't doing these things so that later in life we didn't feel empowered to step up as entrepreneurs. A lot of times it was to keep us safe, to keep us They felt like they were helping us to learn and grow and evolve. And in some aspects, yes, they were. But again, because society, when you turn 18, when you are an early adult, young adult, in your 20s, because society is really stemmed around, okay, well, now you're adult, now you get it, now you know what to do. And there's not this transitional phase of, okay, now we've been guiding you, supporting you, giving you these answers, telling you what you can do and what you can't do. Now it's time to transition. That doesn't happen. A lot of times it's just like very cut and dry of like, okay, now you're an adult, figure it out. Get that job, go to college, start that business, whatever it is that you were sort of directed into. And now it's up to you to decide, and you're not supposed to ask any more questions. You're not supposed to decide for yourself. That's how it feels. But really, you are supposed to decide for yourself. You're supposed to make the choices by yourself now. And yes, we can get support, we can get guidance, but I always like to say the guidance is always meant to guide you back to yourself, to really guide you to then make the empowered decision choice. It's okay to ask for help and to be open to receiving help. As women, we really struggle with this. But it's only to guide you back to making your own empowered decision of getting to decide and not waiting. So if 2025 is really going to support us in anything, it's really giving that power back to ourselves to decide, and that permission back to ourselves. And so what are you going to give permission to yourself to do today? As we come to the end of 2024, going into 2025, what are you going to give yourself permission to do? And if it's to finally share that product or that service or that offer or launch that podcast, I would love to hear from you. Let me know. Because, like I said, we need empowered female entrepreneurs, soulfulpreneurs, sharing their gifts. And if you've been running a business for a while and it just feels like it's not to where you want it to be, look at where you're still asking for permission. Because it's time for you to give permission to yourself. And if you need help with this, support with this, like I said, I'd love to connect with you. Check out the show notes. Let me know. Share this with another female entrepreneur who could benefit. And I will chat with you in my next podcast/video.